Well, actually, the only place I wasn't paranoid was actually right there in the old city, which is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And it is, and I could understand. I was standing there on Temple Mount, my friend, and I was in tears. It was the most beautiful experience of Earth energies that I've ever had. It was a feeling of the presence of God.
Really?
But yes.
Huh.
But of course, I don't necessarily say it was. I don't say it was one God rather than another. But
Sure, yeah.
It was an incredible thing. I don't think I'll ever forget that moment. Yeah, and ordinarily, you see, I mean, I don't sort of leave. I don't really leave South London generally, if I can possibly help it.
Yeah.
And so so getting on a plane and going out to Israel was actually a really brave thing for me to do.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that interesting?
I mean, yeah, and sort of being in Jerusalem. Being in Jerusalem was quite awesome, and it's something which I'm unlikely to do again, only because I don't really want to go through the sort of same kind of hoops which you have to pass to actually get through the customs at the airports. And of course I understand why they do it, but I don't like it.
What drew you to that particular place then?
Yeah, I mean, I can only imagine that it was. I mean, it was something which other people arranged for me, because I don't really have the skills to sort of arrange something like that. I mean, it literally happened spontaneously. So all I can imagine was that in some way I was being guided there. That I was being led to go to Jerusalem and to experience something there. Sort of something of the energy. Something that was quickening in me. Like as a result of being there. I really don't know, but But as I say, I'm glad I've been, and I feel it was quite significant.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, a lot of fighting has been taking place, obviously, on this place.
Yes. Well, having friends who are Israeli. I mean, fighting always goes on there. Always. It's not something that's happening now as a result of 2007 or changing energies or anything like that necessarily. It's been happening for a freaking long time.
That's right.
And it's always happening there, which is in itself very strange. I mean, it's a stretch of land sort of like any other in some ways.
Yeah.
And yet sort of here we are, and it's been going on. It's been going on for a long old time, isn't it? That place is the Umphalos. It's the navel. It's the it seems to be where sort of days start and end. Talking about Greenwich. Now here's the point, my friend. This just reminded me of something which is really interesting. But all this talk about Greenwich 2012 and the importance of that place. Well, here's something which they both have in common. And out there on Temple Mount, up there is that beautiful, stunning, dome.
Yeah.
Yes. And out there on the peninsula at Greenwich, it's certainly not a very beautiful dome. It hasn't got anything on it, but it's still nonetheless, it's there in your face. It's a giant fuck off dome.
And in regards to these places and what's your take on the dome? Why have they put it on that place? I mean, obviously, speaking of Jerusalem, we know that this is a Muslim shrine and so forth. But what about the Greenwich Dome? Why do you think they have put it up there?
Well, I think that is a very, very interesting question, and again, it's something which I'm looking into increasingly.
Sure.
And it's something which I've sort of started discovering right today, in fact, and so this is coming to you straight off the press, as it were. But
nice.
But something which how we need to understand that dome is actually in relation to its neighbour. And if you know anything about the Isle of Dogs out there in Tower Hamlets in London, of course, it's been marred in the last sort of 7 or 8 years with this extremely large obelisk.
Really?
Black obelisk. It's called Canary Wharf.
Did you say Island of Dogs?
It's the Isle of Dogs.
Isle of Dogs.
Yeah, it's the sort of name of the sort of district out there in East London.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, it's yeah.
And a big obelisk is being built there right now?
It's been built. It's been standing for almost 10 years now. I describe it as an obelisk. I mean, so anybody else, might say it's a skyscraper.
Okay, yeah. And what do you think? Are you still there, Ben?
I'm still here. Yeah,
okay,
sorry,
okay, yeah.
Still here.
And,
look, I mean, I'm kind of looking at that symbolically. Here is an enormous skyscraper, and it's extremely large. I think it's one of the sort of tallest in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
It's a massive skyscraper, and right at the top, it has a classic sort of Ben stone. It is a perfectly formed obelisk. There's no doubt about it, and it's massive. It's huge, and it's sort of barely a stone's throw from this newer dome. And so here we have the classic. I mean, it strikes me as very obvious. On the one hand, there's this giant, raging, thrusting penis, and of course, on the dome, it's the opposite. It's the sort of yoni. It's the female principle.
That's right.
Yeah, and so I see no sort of coincidence that we have, right there next to this large, thrusting sort of obelisk, so this dome, and it's and it's something which, if you look at the Dead Sea Scrolls, and this is, like straight off the press as far as I'm concerned, because I've only just looked into this today, but
sure.
But if you look into the Dead Sea Scrolls, and if you start sort of studying the ongoing themes in that document, if you're kind of with me there, then hopefully are you making sense with where I'm going with it all?
Yeah, I think so, but do continue, and we'll,
Yeah, well, it's this sort of ongoing war, as it were. It's in the scrolls. It's expressed as the sons of darkness and the sons of light, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And if we take as our basic premise, and this is only a premise, but if we take the idea that the kind of religion which we see written in the Dead Sea Scrolls is sort of something of the serpent rouge of the kind of secret teachings which many of our leaders and so on have still followed, right? Then I think I think it makes perfect sense that here sort of right here at 0 degrees is a sort of quintessential expression of that conflict.
Interesting. I'm thinking also about very simple connection, of course, with Washington D.C. again, with a big obelisk, Washington Monument,
precisely, and of course at Rome, right there as well.
That's right, yeah, of course.
St. Peter's, and also this huge thrusting obelisk in there. And so I see. Well, absolutely, I hadn't really thought about that before. But isn't that perfect indication of the importance of Greenwich, symbolically at least?
Yeah. Well, have you, in your studies about the meridians and all this, have you come across what is, or I guess was more known as the time balls?
Yes, I certainly have. Yes, I have indeed. That's up there on the, up there on the hill on the observatory.
Ah, it's still there, I guess. Yeah.
Oh, it's still there. Yes, it's still there, and it still works every, sort of noon GMT. Yes, it will drop.
Oh, okay. They rise it up and then they drop it, I guess. But this had it mainly to do with the navigation for the ships in the area to correct their time.
Yes, that's right. Yes, absolutely. That it was a kind of visual signal at the time that was necessary.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
How about this, theme with the mariners then? The navigators, the ancient navigators of the sea.
Yes, indeed.
This seems to be a theme that is upcoming again and again in a way, and even.
Yes, it certainly is, my friend.
Yeah.
It certainly is. Yeah. If I can link this in, with this sort of notion of the maritime signals,
Sure.
and also we talk about Madeleine McCann, and I'm going to try and sort of piece it together for you in a way that's just intuitive. But
Sure.
somebody on my blog actually offered this comment, because I was talking about maritime signals for a long time, or at least for a few weeks, and I didn't really know why I was banging on about this. But somebody who hopefully he'll be listening, he sort of sent me this little intuitive response. He said, "Well, you know what maritime is? And here is the key, my friend. It's Mary time.
There you go. Exactly.
Okay, can you understand what everything I'm trying to communicate? I'm not very good at it, but it's all there in that one phrase, Mary time. That is where we are going. And if we look at the Holy Blood and Holy Grail, and if we look at Dan Brown's sequel, you know, it was an unofficial sequel, but that's what it was. Everything is pushing us in this way. But what we have to understand is, you know, I love, I have a real passion for Mary and for the, and for everything that you know, so she represents. But you know, the important thing is that it shouldn't be them, if we want to call them who are setting the agenda for that. It should be us. And so all these things, all this holy blood nonsense, and all this sort of stuff about Madeleine McCann, which I believe is part of this, all part of pushing that feminine iconography. It was the same with Princess Diana in a subliminal, very subtle way. Yet it's all trying to lead us. It's all trying to lead us. It's all trying to push us in a certain way. And the important thing is that we actually, you know, sort of take hold of our own destiny and set the agenda ourselves, rather than being shoehorned sort of down any particular sort of religious funnel. Are you kind of with me about where we're going?
Yeah, definitely. And one thing that comes to mind here, of course, is about. I wonder if it is significant, you know, in you know, what deity, so to speak, we actually worship, or you know.
It is. I believe it's highly significant, and you know, and I'm very excited about this because I am a, you know, I am a Mary worshipper of sorts, although not in the Catholic sense. I mean, I like to think I'm a sort of true devotee of the feminine. If that means I watch a lot of porn, I don't know. But
okay.
You know, but you know, it's extremely it's kind of important. It is important where we're going. And you know, I've been aware of this. I've been trying to talk about it, trying to communicate it for a long time, but I've only been able to find a symbolic language of doing it. So, for example, you know, I was talking about Britney Spears not too long ago, and lots of people read those articles, and I'm very grateful for that. And you know, I can give you a little bit of news on that because I'm going to be publishing that series of articles quite soon, and people can, if they care to, purchase that from my site in hopefully in the next 6 months or less. So that's kind of quite an exciting development from my perspective.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just more generally, I mean, why do you think? Why did you follow up on this story about Britney in the beginning?
Yeah, well, precisely. I mean, I'm trying to explain it in a way, and it was something which at the time of actually beginning that investigation, I mean, I thought that it was simply a case. I mean, you know, I was, as everybody was, you know, Freeman, who you had on your show, doing some great work on that subject, which was very inspiring for me. So I take my hat off to him there. But you know, he, you know, also got quite fired up, sort of simply by the symbolism of it.
Yeah,
it was a very extremely powerful sort of symbolic statement that was being made there with you know, obviously Britney Spears shaving off her head.
Yeah.
At the time, I thought I was going to write, you know, possibly one post about it and move on. But you know, more and more as I got into it, I realized that it was a kind of metaphor for precisely this kind of thing that I'm trying to communicate to you, which I cannot express in simply one sentence in a soundbite. But it was exactly a metaphor for this process. And then increasingly, you see, I sort of brought in, you know, I brought in this notion of the M.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm not blaming one woman specifically, you know, I'm sort of Madonna. I mean, I admire Madonna. I think